Steven Spielberg trusted Rachel Zegler to lead West Side Story, and she nearly destroyed the entire production. From clashing with Spielberg himself to causing chaos on set, insiders say Rachel's behavior was so bad, it changed how Hollywood sees her forever. You think you know the story? Trust me, Spielberg saw everything, and what he exposed behind the scenes will leave you stunned.
I sat through the whole thing. This was really bad. It was extremely leftist on every political dimension: racial politics, sexual politics, class politics, regime politics. Its narrative was cowardly. It was just awful.
Remaking the movie, they just got rid of the dwarfs, but they have one token dwarf amongst these magical creatures. You actually just went backwards. You actually just erased the dwarfism side of it, the disability, like we're a disability group, you just erase that whole.
This is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
Have they ever thought about maybe like a little bit of like, I don't know, vulnerability study, opposition research, that sort of thing, before you go and hire some Zoomer who's a lunatic?
When Steven Spielberg personally taps you for a role, that's supposed to mean you've arrived. Rachel Zegler, a teenager plucked from obscurity, was thrust into the spotlight as Maria in Spielberg's massive West Side Story remake. Overnight, she became a symbol of Hollywood's next generation.
Controversy in Snow White. The dwarves have been eliminated in the live action.
Yeah.
Now it's Snow White and the 7 magical beings.
Wait, it's 7 and the magical beings?
Yeah,
They won't even say
magical
and the 7
beings.
dwarves?
No, because they're not dwarves. For right now, that's the only jobs that are there.
Doing catastrophically. They spent $300 million and it currently has a 2.2 out of 10 rating on IMDb.
The movie has a major identity crisis.
Rachel Zegler, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution.
The media hailed her as the future. Disney came knocking almost immediately, handing her the keys to the kingdom with a lead role in their live-action Snow White. It seemed like Rachel could do no wrong. Magazine covers, red carpets, gushing, headlines. She was everywhere, but while the public only saw the polished image, insiders were already whispering that something wasn't quite right. And as we know in Hollywood, where there's smoke, there's fire, but behind the glittering headlines, a much darker story was quietly taking shape.
Last week was a very big week, objectively a huge week. We had quite a few announcements. It's first live-action film, which is Snow White and the Evil Queen. And that's me, I'm Snow White, which is so funny.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie. She came out and she said, I apologize. Like, I went too far, but it wasn't.
While Spielberg put on a brave face during press junkets, behind the scenes, the set of West Side Story was reportedly a battleground. Multiple crew members described Rachel as combative, constantly challenging Spielberg's direction. Yes, Spielberg, the man who directed E.T. and Jurassic Park. Instead of taking advice, insiders claim Rachel pushed back hard.
It's got extra musical numbers that are incredibly unnecessary that really add to that runtime, and let me go ahead and let you know that they're absolutely f***ing atrocious.
Who wants a movie about true love? What kind of woman do we want out there seeking true love, Eliana? It's the outrage.
Queen, playing the evil queen. It was pretty amazing.
They say all you have to do to make your wish come true is let it echo, 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 echo.
Even basic scenes became exhausting, with Spielberg allegedly having to do far more takes than planned because Rachel simply wouldn't cooperate. And it wasn't just Spielberg. Lighting crews, costume designers, even choreographers allegedly dreaded working with her. Imagine thinking you know better than the guy who's been winning Oscars since before you were born.
It's awful, generic. Never mind that the lyrics make no sense at all. All you have to do to make your dream come true is let it echo. Is it like on a metaphor?
And you know the saying, go woke, get broke, and Disney's going to lose money on this movie. And I believe it only made less than $1 million.
They spent $170 million to make the thing, and it had the lowest opening, under $50 million, of any of these live-action Disney remakes that they've ever had.
Broke out with this news, and I'm very, very, very excited and looking forward.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? Well, Ms. Godot, do you really think anybody is going to believe that you would be jealous of Rachel Zegler? As insiders put it, it was like dealing with a diva before she'd even earned it. And if tensions on set were bad, what happened next nearly destroyed her career.
Hardcore.
They're petrified of some kind of backlash.
Now, I'm guessing that she's not married. I'm guessing that she doesn't have kids. The movie is a complete disaster, by the way.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
So apparently, according to them and according to the writers of Snow White, women can't even want to be in love anymore.
When West Side Story started rolling out promos, another storm was brewing, this time about Rachel's identity. Rachel proudly marketed herself as Latina, leaning heavily into it during press tours. But critics, and even some insiders, began raising questions. How Latina was she really? Where were the receipts? Suddenly, awkward conversations were happening behind closed doors at the studio. Requests for proof of heritage were allegedly made, and reportedly Rachel wasn't thrilled about it.
So she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat, pretending like Rachel Zegler is the first of them all when she looks like Lord Farquaad in the film.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird.
Part of the first, fairy tale ever told.
Disney deleted Someday My Prince Will Come and made a modernized feminist alternative.
Oh my God.
Instead of cooling the fire, Rachel's public comments made it worse. She doubled down, blasted critics on social media, and accused everyone of being toxic and misogynistic. Rather than addressing the controversy with humility, she came off defensive. And let's be honest, it wasn't a good look. Fans started asking, was Hollywood just desperate to tick a box? And if so, had they chosen the wrong poster child? But even as Rachel battled behind closed doors, a much bigger storm was brewing. Disney's live-action Snow White was supposed to be a guaranteed billion-dollar hit. Instead, it became a PR nightmare almost immediately, and Rachel was at the center of it all. First came the decision to eliminate the dwarfs entirely, replacing them with magical beings of various genders and species. Fans who grew up with the classic story were furious, calling it woke nonsense and accusing Disney of destroying their own legacy. Then Rachel opened her mouth during interviews and somehow made it 10 times worse, mocking the original. Snow White for dreaming of true love, rolling her eyes at fairy tales, bragging about how different and modern her Snow White would be. It wasn't empowerment. It came off as arrogant and dismissive of the very audiences Disney needed. Critics said it felt like Rachel hated the character she was playing, and fans, they turned on her in record numbers. It's almost like she took a flamethrower to her own movie and smiled while doing it. Still, Disney pressed forward, betting everything on Rachel's star power, but they were about to pay the price. $300 million budget, years of marketing, global expectations. And what did they get? One of the biggest flops in Disney history. The box office numbers were so catastrophic, executives reportedly went into emergency meetings within the first week of release. On IMDb, the film scored a dismal 2.22/10, one of the worst ratings ever for a Disney live-action movie. Even the most loyal Disney defenders couldn't find a way to spin it. The collapse was so severe that Disney had to quietly pull the plug on several upcoming remakes, scrambling to stop the financial bleeding. And all of it, according to insiders, was directly tied to Rachel's disastrous reception. The girl who was supposed to lead Disney's next golden age had instead triggered one of its darkest financial chapters. And just when it seemed like it couldn't get worse, even her own co-stars started speaking out. Sources close to the production say Rachel became radioactive almost overnight. Crew members complained about her attitude on set. Words like entitled, abrasive, and impossible to direct popped up in behind-the-scenes reports. Fellow actors, speaking anonymously, hinted at a culture of tension and conflict wherever Rachel worked. And perhaps most devastatingly, rumors spread that Steven Spielberg himself, the man who discovered her, vowed never to collaborate with her again. When Spielberg distances himself from you, in Hollywood terms, that's basically career death. Major casting directors quietly crossed her name off their lists. Upcoming projects dried up. Instead of being Hollywood's next A-lister, Rachel Zegler became a cautionary punchline at industry cocktail parties. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the most difficult of them all? But perhaps the most shocking part is how quickly it all unraveled. Talent can open the door, but ego will slam it shut right in your face. Rachel Zegler had everything most actors would kill for: the looks, the voice, the dream role, and the ultimate Hollywood golden ticket. Steven Spielberg's blessing. She wasn't just introduced to the world, she was launched like a rocket. But somewhere along the way, Rachel stopped acting like the newcomer fighting for a chance and started behaving like Hollywood owed her the crown. It wasn't enough to be in the spotlight, She wanted to own it. Every interview, every red carpet moment, it became less about the work and more about Rachel reminding everyone that she was the moment. And Hollywood notices everything. Behind the smiles and handshakes, executives started whispering. Directors grew cautious. Other actors, the ones who'd fought tooth and nail for years just to get a foot in the door, watched Rachel's meteoric rise with raised eyebrows. Because if there's one thing Hollywood hates more than failure, it's arrogance without the resume to back it up. Today, Rachel's story isn't a glamorous headline. It's a cautionary tale told in closed-door meetings at every major studio. Talent agents whisper it to their newest clients. Don't get a big head. Don't pull a Zegler. Casting directors shared over late-night drinks. She could have had it all if only she'd kept her mouth shut. Because in Hollywood, you're never bigger than the audience. You're never bigger than the fans who bought the ticket, the directors who took the risk, or the crews who worked 18-hour days to make you look good. And once the tide turns, once the public smells arrogance, it's not just a fall, it's a free fall. Mirror on the wall, who's the fastest downfall of them all? Well, Ms. Zegler, Hollywood already answered. The higher they lift you, the harder and louder they laugh when you crash. Rachel Zegler's meteoric rise and brutal fall might be one of the fastest flameouts in recent Hollywood memory. She had the golden ticket, the roles, the money, the chance to build an empire. But at every turn, controversy, ego, and missteps chipped away at the fantasy. Was it just bad luck, or the inevitable result of ignoring every warning sign flashing in bright neon lights? You decide.